Alright, hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a video that I probably should have posted a little bit earlier than I'm posting it now. I'm sorry, a couple of my more like beginning of the year centered videos are coming out a little bit further into January than I would like, but I lost my voice for like 5 days, which made filming very hard. And I don't want to scrap this video idea because I want to do it. It sounds fun. So today I'm going to be tier ranking all of the books that I read in 2024. I just feel like I haven't really gotten a chance to reflect truly on all of the great and some not so great books that I read last year. So I figured, why not do it today by tier ranking them, obviously. Also, I don't really give books star ratings or anything, so I'm hoping that this will be like a quick way for you and I to kind of just see how I was feeling about like my reading overall. Because it honestly seems like the perfect way to start out the year by saying goodbye to my reading from last year. Although, do you know what is also the perfect way to start out the year? Potentially learning a new skill or hobby with the sponsor of today's video, which is Skillshare. Obviously, I've worked with Skillshare a lot throughout 2024. I love working with them so much, so I'm so happy they wanted to work with me again in the new year. If you guys don't know, Skillshare is an online learning community full of thousands of different classes that you can possibly take in so many different subjects that are all taught by industry professionals. This year, I really want to focus on improving some like skills and interests that I already have. One of those being making graphics, thumbnails, drawing on my iPad, and I figured Skillshare would be the perfect place to go for this. Because currently for any like graphic thing that you see me make, I just use this random app that's on my iPad that I found in the App Store one day. It's fine, I like it, but I just feel like I could be doing more with the things that I create. And I found out that Skillshare has a couple of classes about Procreate, which is an app that I've always wanted to try out, but I've been, you know, a bit like dubious. I'm just like, I don't know. So I decided to check out a couple of the classes that they had on Procreate, and I've really liked them so far. My favorite class so far being the aptly named Intro to Procreate Illustrating on the iPad by Bert Glazer. This class is just a really good introductory kind of course to everything you could need to know about Procreate. It's very comprehensive. It goes over all of the basics as well as some more advanced things that you are able to do in the app. I particularly enjoyed the section about the different brush settings that are in Procreate because there are like a million different brushes that you can use. So seeing them kind of broken down and showcased was very helpful. But obviously, if you know drawing on an iPad doesn't really apply to you, there are so many other classes that you could check out. And the beginning of the year is kind of the perfect time to learn something new. I don't personally subscribe to the idea of New Year's resolutions, but like going into a year, I do generally have some ideas of like hobbies I want to try or just like interests that I want to improve on, and I feel like Skillshare is the perfect place to go explore my options with that a little bit because they have so many classes such as art and illustration, DIYs and photography, literally anything you could want to know, they probably have it. So if any of that sounds interesting, I will leave a link to them down in the description, and the first 500 people that click that link will get their first month of Skillshare for free. That is a whole month of learning a new skill that you could potentially fall in love with for free. So again, thank you so much to Skillshare for sponsoring this video and supporting me and my channel, and to you guys watching this as well for always supporting me and my channel. Your support means the absolute world to me, and I'm so happy that you're here. So with that, shall we get into the tier ranking? I'm so excited. I love a tier ranking. It's always such a good time. And let's scope out the tier list I have while strategically not showing any of the ads that are on this website. So I have 7 categories. I read like 124 books last year, so I feel like 5 categories wasn't gonna cut it. So I decided to do 7 to like really, you know, do some delineation in there. I feel like my categories are pretty self-explanatory. It goes from the best books to the worst books. So the top one is a new favorite. These are like new favorites of all time. I love them so much. Or some of them are old favorites because I did do some rereads this year, and I will be putting those in that category if they deserve it. I have honorable mentions, which are like they're almost new favorites, but like not quite. There's maybe something about them that I didn't absolutely love. Then I have You Are Almost There. These are the books that I absolutely enjoyed so much. And I have good with an exclamation mark. It's kind of just like, you know, it's fine. It was a good time. I enjoyed it. And then I have fine. I'm like, whatever. You know, I don't feel any dislike towards these books, but I wouldn't say they were like great. Then I have meh, which are the books that I'm starting to feel a little bit less enthusiastic about. I'm like, I have issues with these books. And then the last category is I want to unread it, which are just the worst of the worst. I don't have too many books to put in this category, but I do have a few, and we will get to those as we go on. So with all that out of the way, let me just get into tier ranking all of my reads of 2024 with you guys. So the first book that we have here is actually a reread, which is actually really boring to start out with a reread. But I did reread Strange the Dreamer for my Patreon monthly buddy read in June because it was the 1-year anniversary of my Patreon, and my Patreon is Strange the Dreamer themed. So we decided to do a reread. I'm probably gonna put it in honorable mention. Honestly, I think after my reread, Strange the Dreamer has like kind of moved down in my list of favorite books. I still really loved it, but I don't think I loved it quite as much the second time around, but I still really, you know, enjoyed it, which is why it's like just a step down from the favorites. Then I read The Raven and the Reindeer by T. Kingfisher. I really enjoyed this one. This is a retelling of The Snow Queen by Hans Christian Andersen, which let me go ahead and do that one too, because they kind of go together. I'm gonna put in fine. Yeah, I don't really feel too much about The Snow Queen, but I wanted to read the source material before I read the retelling of it. But I really enjoyed The Raven and the Reindeer. I loved what T. Kingfisher did with the story and how they kind of made it their own while still keeping the bare bones of the story the same. I was a big fan of this one. And I want to read more of T. Kingfisher's like proper fairy tale retellings, because she has a couple that kind of like look the same. Like they have very similar covers to the one for The Raven and the Reindeer, which I would really like to read. Then towards the end of the year, I did do a reread of Emily Wild's Encyclopedia of Fairies by by Heather Fawcett. I can't speak. I'm putting this one in new favorite, even though it's a reread, but I love my reread so much. I loved it even more than I loved it, you know, the first time that I read it. It is my favorite book out of the two, which is saying a lot because I loved the second one. Speaking of the second one, where is it? Is it not here? I feel like there's a high likelihood that it is somewhere in this sea of book covers, but is not popping out at me, and I feel like it should. So obviously Emily Wild's Map of the Other Lands also going in new favorite. I love this series. It's honestly like my top favorite series at this moment in time, which is so exciting. The third one comes out soon. I can't wait. There was a little gremlin at the door trying to get in. Say hi, baby. You smell like cat litter. That's gross. I'll just let her wander for the time being. Okay, next up we have All Systems Red by Martha Wells. This one I'm gonna put in maybe honorable mentions. It's like the bottom of honorable mentions, but I really love this one. This is a sci-fi novella, the start to a sci-fi novella series that's following a murder bot, and you kind of see what Murderbot's getting up to. It was really funny, but also had some great sci-fi elements to it. I was a big fan. Then I have my first I want to unread it, which is Cruel Winter with You by Ali Hazelwood. Genuinely, I hated this book, this novella, because it's really short, so much. I think it's one of the worst things that Ali Hazelwood has ever written. And that's just my subjective opinion. I know some people like this, don't just like take my word for it, but for me personally, I just thought it was bad, which I don't think that about a lot of books, but like this one I did not like. And there are so many Ali Hazelwood books that I do like genuinely enjoy, you know, but like this one was not one of them. Then I have The Wedding Witch, which I'm gonna put in fine. This is the third book in the X-Hex series by Erin Sterling. It wasn't a favorite. I feel like the first half was like somewhat enjoyable. The second half was a little bit meh, but it did have that witchy atmosphere that I do love from Erin Sterling. Then I have Spectacular by Stephanie Garber, which I'm gonna put in good. The main reason I loved this book was the illustrations, because the illustrations in this book are gorgeous and they really made the story for me. Honestly, if it was like just the text, no illustrations, it would be like a tier down, but like the illustrations were so good. There are some moments in the story that I think are a little weird, and like it's somewhat justified by the character in the end, but I'm still just like, that was an odd scene to put in this book, but I digress. Whatever. Then we have The Sword of Kaigen by Emma Wong, which I'm putting in new favorite. I love this one. I think it's a really great standalone. It does kind of set up for a series at the end that doesn't happen, but I think the rest of the book is good enough that it's still a new favorite. Then I have Love Light Farms, which I'm gonna put in good, exclamation mark. This may be it was one of my favorite romances that I read last year. I don't read a ton of romance books, and like most of them I don't end up loving, but I really enjoyed my time. Maybe I'll put it in You're Almost There, actually, because I do think I liked it a little bit more than just good. But it was so cute. I love the dynamic between our two main characters. It's like friends to lovers, but it's also like idiots in love kind of vibes. It was just so fun. Then we have another book, which I want to put in I want to unread it. And that is A Dark and Drowning Tide by Alison Saft. Now I'm taking this like completely as my fault, because I should not have read another Alison Saft book. I really disliked A Far Wilder Magic, and I was like, her books are probably not for me, but this got chosen as my November Patreon buddy read. And initially I was excited about it because it was like, you know, sapphic, rivals to lovers, folklorist like vibes. And I was like, oh, well, like if it's gonna be that, then I have to try it. But I didn't love it. I don't think it's a bad book, but like it's not a book for me for sure, which is why I personally want to unread it. But I think this book definitely does work for some people. So like don't listen to me. Then I have Funny Story by Emily Henry. I think I'm gonna put this one in You Were Almost There. Or should I put it in honorable mentions? I really, really loved Funny Story, which I'm so happy about because the other 2 Emily Henry books that I've read, not favorites. Definitely not favorites. So I swore off Emily Henry for a while, but then I read Funny Story. Me and Cass listened to the audiobook of this together when we were driving down to Arkansas back in November, which was also just a top tier reading experience. But I just loved this book. The dynamic between the 2 main characters was so good. Everything about it was so good. And for once, I get the Emily Henry hype. Then I'm gonna also put Sword Heart by T. Kingfisher in honorable mentions as well. This was so fun. It would honestly have been in my new favorite category, but the second half of the book lost me just like slightly, you know, but it's a really great kind of funny but cozy quest-based fantasy romance kind of story, which is like, tell me a book is like that phrase right there and I will want to read it. Then I have The Scholar in the Last Fairy Door. I'm gonna put this one in good. I enjoyed it when I read it. I don't think I've thought about it for 1 second since then, however. I like the general concept of this book. It's like historical fantasy with fae, and it's like dark academia also. It's told over like a long span of time, which is kind of cool, but I don't think about it at all. Then I have Rewitched by Lucy Jane Wood, which is definitely going in my honorable mentions category. I love this book so much. It was just so fun. It's like the perfect cozy fall witchy kind of story, and I'm so excited that there's going to be another one that's kind of like in this series called Uncharmed, which I think comes out later this year, which I will be picking up and probably loving. Then I have another reread, which was The Legend of Sleepy Hollow by Washington Irving. I mean, I'm gonna put it in new favorite just because it's my favorite spooky short story. It's not new because I've read it a couple times, but I loved it. I know a lot of people don't, but it's one of my favorites for the vibes. And then I have A Dark and Secret Magic. I'm gonna put this one in You Are Almost There. There are a lot of elements to this book which I loved. It's an incredibly Halloween-y story. It's like a love letter to Halloween. But it was kind of insta-lovey. I had a couple of other issues with it. I don't remember what they were, but I liked it a lot, and I would recommend if you're a Halloween girly like myself. Then I have The Haunting of Blackwood House, which I think I want to put in I want to unread it. Not because this book is like, you know, offending me with its presence, but I just thought it was dumb, honestly. I didn't like the main character. I didn't like the plot, but I know there are so many other Darcy Coates haunted house books that I can and will be reading. Then I have Slough by Brom, which I'm probably also gonna put in honorable mentions. I loved this book. Like, oh, just watching our main character get the vengeance she deserved, delicious. It's like a witchy, historical kind of situation. Then I have Phantom Pond by Juno Black. This is a like Halloween short story in the Shady Hollow series. I'm gonna put it in fine. I don't really have a lot of feelings about it. It was fun for what it was, but like, you know, not a favorite. Then I have A Sorceress Comes to Call by T. Kingfisher. I'm probably gonna put this one in good with an exclamation mark. Oh my god, like the sun is really blinding me now. Hang on. The Strange Case of the Alchemist's Daughter, which I'm also gonna put in good. I enjoyed this one. It's a like historical, it's not really fantasy, is it? It's just like a historical mystery kind of series, which I do plan on continuing this year. Then I have An Education in Malice, which I'm putting in meh. This book honestly just disappointed me. I feel like I had expectations and they were met in the first half, but then in the second half it just evolved into like, I don't even know. And I didn't love it. Then we have In My Dreams I Hold a Knife by Ashley Winstead. I really did like this one. I thought it was an interesting take on the dark academia topic. It was also very juicy. Our characters are so messy, but like, I love it. Then I have Graveyard Shift by Emma Rio, which I'm probably gonna put in meh. I really liked the writing in this one, but the story itself didn't really do anything for me, which does upset me because I was very excited about it, but nonetheless, we persevere. Then we have Over the Garden Wall, Hollow Town. I liked this one. I think I'm gonna put it in good. It's just like a comic kind of spin-off graphic novel thingy for Over the Garden Wall. Then we have My Vampire Plus One by Jenna Levine. Honestly, I'm gonna put it in honorable mentions. What's this dude's name? Reginald. That man's so goofy, and sometimes it is a bit much, but I still had such a fun time reading this book. It's like a contemporary romance with vampires, which really, what more could I ask for? Then I have The Haunting of Ashburn House, which I'm gonna put in good. This is another Darcy Coates haunted house book. I enjoyed it a lot. I didn't love the twist, which is why it's not any higher. It's kind of why it's in the middle, but I still enjoyed most of it. I think I'll put Nettle and Bone in fine. I feel like everybody loves Nettle and Bone, so I was going into it, I was like, oh, this is gonna be so good. Obviously, I'm gonna love it. And like, it was a good time, but it wasn't, you know, anything that really stood out to me, I guess. I feel like maybe I should reread it at some point. Maybe I'm just missing some stuff. But also, I just don't think T. Kingfisher is like quite the author for me. As I'm sure some of you guys know, I've been on my hunt for the 5-star T. Kingfisher book, which I'm now convinced maybe doesn't exist. But I like her stories enough that I will continue reading them, obviously. Oh man, we have so many more to go still. We have volume 42 of Yona of the Dawn. I'm gonna put it in good. I don't feel like I have anything else to say about it, honestly. Yona of the Dawn has been a series that like progressively gets like just slightly worse. It's not like bad, but like I have lost a bit of interest in the series, but I think I like volume 42. I also don't remember what happens in the individual volumes at this point, so don't ask me. I have another one. Is it volume 41? I think I liked this one. Maybe about the same. I'll put it in the same category, whatever. Then I have Over the Garden Wall. I don't remember what this one's called, but it's like another comic, but I remember not really liking this one. I think I liked the other one a lot more. This one was just like weird, and it focused on a different character than like any of the characters that are actually in the show, so I wasn't a fan. Then I have Library of Shadows, which I'm gonna put in good, probably. I enjoyed this one. It's like a YA, dark academia, kind of. It's more like dark academia vibes, aesthetic, not really like themes and subject matter and whatnot. It just takes place in a library, basically. And it was fun. For like a YA book, it was fun. Then I have, I think this is The Well of Ascension, which I'm gonna put in good. I don't love the second or third books in the Mistborn series. I like them a lot, but like they're not favorites, so I'm gonna put them here. Then I have Two Twisted Crowns by Rachel Gillig, and in the plot twist of the century, I'm gonna put it in You Are Almost There. I did not love One Dark Window. It is certainly, it's just not a favorite. But Two Twisted Crowns was actually so good, solely for the romance that's in this one. I just ate it up. I did not care about Elspeth and whatever his name is in the first one, but this one, between Elm and I don't remember her name either, it was so good. Then we have The Perfectly Proper Paranormal Museum. I'm gonna put it in fine. Honestly, I don't remember what was going on in this book. I think I listened to it on audio while I was doing a puzzle, and all thoughts of it have fled my mind. Maybe I should put it in meh, if I really don't remember anything about it. Then I have Belladonna and Foxglove. Belladonna I'm gonna put in honorable mentions because I really enjoyed Belladonna. The vibes of it, the gothic atmosphere were so good. I really liked her main character Signa. I liked the romance. I liked the like kind of, it's not like a murder mystery plot, but it's like an almost murder mystery kind of thing, which was so good. And then Foxglove I'm gonna put in good. I think it kind of lost the vibes that the first one had, which does disappoint me a little bit, but I will be reading Wisteria soon, so I'm excited to see how the series wraps up and how kind of that continues. Then I have The Spell Shop by Sarah Beth Durst, which I'm gonna put in You Were Almost There. I really enjoyed this one. Obviously, a lot of people have read this and loved it as well. It's like a cozy fantasy kind of situation where a main character opens a spell shop, and it's very cute. Then I have Loveless by Alice Oseman, which I'm gonna put in good. I read another Alice Oseman, which is I Was Born for This, which I'm also gonna put in good. I liked both of these, but YA contemporary is not necessarily my preferred genre. But for what they were, I enjoyed them. All right, then I have The Ornithologist Field Guide to Love by India Holton, which is obviously going in new favorite. I really enjoyed this one. It was so fun. It's like a historical rival ornithologist romance kind of situation. It's ridiculous, it's kooky, but it's cute. Then I have The House Across the Lake by Riley Sager, which I think if given the chance, I would want to unread this. I feel like if I say too much about why I don't like it, it's kind of a spoiler, but I just think the genres that were brought into this book, very interesting and not needed from me. Then I have Rotha's Vows by Rebecca Ross, which I'm gonna put in You Were Almost There. I thought this was a really good conclusion to the duology. I definitely see where the complaints that a lot of people have about it are coming from, but honestly, I really loved how much fantasy was brought into this book, but I do wish that some of those fantastical elements had been kind of spread into the first one a little bit more to make it seem a little bit more like seamlessly woven into the entire series as opposed to it just being in the second one. But I still loved it. I loved the love story between Roman and Iris. It was so cute. Then I have The Final Empire, which is also going into new favorite. My reread of The Final Empire is like my favorite reading experience of 2024. It was just so good. I was having the best time, and it's like my favorite Cosmere book, maybe, of all of them. Is that a true statement? I don't know. It's like neck and neck with Way of Kings and Words of Radiance. I'd have to reread them to tell you. Then I have a novel love story by Ashley Poston, which I'm gonna be putting in meh. Honestly, I think I liked this book a lot more than a lot of other people I've seen, but there were issues with this book. There were a lot of issues with this book, honestly. Now, maybe I'll put it in fine. I don't quite feel meh about it, but it was whatever. Like, insta-love, I had such an issue with insta-love this year. So many of the books, there was just like no build-up in the relationships, and I didn't buy into them. I'm like, if there's not good buildup, if these people haven't known each other for more than like a couple days, I'm not gonna buy that they fell in love. Like, I know love at first sight, like maybe some people believe in it. Frankly, I don't. So maybe that's cynical of me. But like, you can't tell me that you can fall in love with somebody that you've known for 3 days. Like, maybe in a superficial way, I would get it, but like, seriously? And that's my supposed hot take of the day. Granted, I've never experienced love at first sight, so maybe I just don't get it. I don't get what the girlies are getting, but can you tell I had an issue with it? So many books. So many books. Then I have the New Moon graphic novel, which I'm gonna put in good. I like this one, it was fun. Then I have Rolling in the Deep by Mira Grant. This is the prequel novella to, where'd that book go? Into the Drowning Deep. Into the Drowning Deep, I'm gonna put in new favorites, and Rolling in the Deep, I'm gonna put in good. I enjoyed Rolling in the Deep, but you also know exactly where it's going because you've already read Into the Drowning Deep. So nothing about it was surprising, but getting that background information I did enjoy. But I really, really loved Into the Drowning Deep. It's a sci-fi horror kind of thing with mermaids. Top tier. Then I have Middle of the Night by Riley Sager, which I feel like I'm one of the only people that actually enjoyed this book. I've seen so many people putting it on their worst books of the year list, and I'm like, I didn't like, love it, but I enjoyed it for what it was. I also think I'm not a very seasoned thriller reader. It's not really a genre that I like gravitate towards. So maybe in the grand scheme of all the thrillers that are out there, it is bad. But I liked it. I was interested in it, and I'm gonna put it in good. Then I have the House Moving Castle picture book, which I'm gonna put in You Were Almost There. It was fun. It was cute. It's literally just stills from the movie with captions on them, but I had a good time. Then I have Death Checked Out by somebody. I don't know the author, but this was for a blind date with a book that I did for one of my Patreon exclusive videos in July or June. I think it was June. I'm putting in meh. I didn't like this one. It was like a cozy mystery kind of thing, but I just didn't care about any of the characters, didn't care about the mystery. It disappointed me. Well, actually, I don't even think it disappointed me because I didn't have expectations for it. I just didn't love it. Then I have The Hero of Ages, which I'm gonna put next to The Well of Ascension. It feels kind of mean, like almost wrong, putting Mistborn in the good tier, but just don't talk about it, guys. Then I have Emma by Jane Austen, which, here's my hot take, I'm gonna put it in fine. I appreciate Emma for what it was. It's definitely like, you're supposed to not like Emma, and I get that, I really do, but this was still my least favorite Jane Austen book that I've read. It was long, it was just irritating, but enjoyment-wise, not a favorite. Obviously, I love all of Jane Austen's books just for kind of that snapshot of what that time period was like and the way she was kind of capturing it in her work, but like enjoyment levels, not like the highest they could have been. On a more positive note, I also read Persuasion by Jane Austen this year, and it's gonna go on my honorable mentions. I actually really loved Persuasion. I started reading it a couple years ago, and I wasn't that into it, so I softy DNF'd it for a little bit, but then I picked it back up, and I loved it. The love story between Anne and Captain Wentworth was so stunning. The letter at the end was just like, oh, so good. I loved having an older Jane Austen protagonist. I mean, she's still in her 20s, but for the time, she was a spinster. But I just loved it. I loved how kind of soft-spoken Anne was. I really relate to her a lot more than I relate to a lot of other Jane Austen heroines, so I just loved Persuasion. Then we have Welcome to Dead House, which is the very first Goosebumps book, which I'm gonna put in You Were Almost There. I mean, it was fun. It was a good time. You know what? Maybe I'm gonna put it in good. I feel like You Were Almost There is kind of crazy. Then we have The Crimson Moth by Kristen Cicerelli. I'm gonna put this one in good. This is very fun. It's a YA fantasy romance. For what it is, it's a good time. I don't think it's doing anything new. I think you've probably read this book before, basically, but I had a fun time with it, a really fun time with it. And I will be reading Rebel Witch when it comes out in February. Then I have The Witch Would Not, which I'm gonna put in meh. I also have another Olivia Atwater book that I'm putting in meh, because I also didn't like Long Shadow. Both of these just didn't, they didn't pique my interest. I have marketing issues with The Witch Would Not because it calls itself a fantasy romance, which is what I was expecting, and then there's no romance until the 80% mark, and I was like, what's going on? And then Long Shadow I just didn't care about, honestly. Then I have Bad Blood by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. This is the last book in the Natural series, which was very fun, and I'm gonna put it at the top of good because it was a good time. The ending was kind of crazy, the very ending. good times. Not in Love by Ali Hazelwood. Again, I want to unread it. I know why I didn't like this book, because even though it's very similar to a lot of other Ali Hazelwood books, it's also very different from them in the sense that she calls this one an erotica. And erotica is not necessarily something I want from Ali Hazelwood. I also just didn't like the romance because lust was used more as an establishing factor for the relationship as opposed to it kind of enhancing the relationship later on, which doesn't work for me. So I did not like Not in Love. It was out of here the second I read it. I was like, no, I don't even want it gracing my presence any longer. Then, on the flip side, we have Yumi and the Nightmare Painter, which was a new favorite. I loved it. I didn't put it at the top of that category, actually, for any specific reason. These aren't really in much of an order, but I loved Yumi. One of my favorite Cosbear books. So good. Then we have Part of Your World. I read all 3 of the Abby Jimenez books. Here's yours truly. I'll do them all together. Because I probably feel the same. No, actually, I think I'm gonna put Part of Your World in fine, because I liked it. When I read it, I liked it, but like, I think this is my least favorite out of the series. And then I'm gonna put maybe Just for the Summer and You Were Almost There, Yours Truly, and Good, Part of Your World in fine. Just for the Summer is the one that I started with, and I think it has the biggest emotional impact. I just really liked the characters. I liked the romance in that one. And then the others were just like progressively, like a little bit not as good for me personally, but I still really loved all of them, and I would highly recommend this series. So much so that I got my brother's girlfriend the first book in the series for Christmas, because I'm like, read it. Even though the first book is my favorite, you still gotta read it. Then we have The Last Metal by Brandon Sanderson, which I'm gonna put in You Were Almost There. I really loved The Last Metal as the conclusion to Mistborn Era 2. It was good. I liked it a lot. Then we have In the Labyrinth of Drakes by Marie Brennan, which I'm gonna put in You Were Almost There. This is my favorite one out of the Lady Trent series thus far. It had like Indiana Jones vibes to it. I was a big fan. The Ashes and the Star-Cursed King. I want to unread it. I hated this book, honestly. I had mixed feelings about The Serpent and the Wings of Night. It was fun at first, but I had some issues with how our character was kind of like dealing with some things at the end of the book. And then the 2 of them in this book, the 2 main characters, irritated the hell out of me. Then I have A Sky Beyond the Storm. Do I have the other books? Let me get them up here. Don't ask me why there are mismatched covers for the 4 of them. I have no idea. I'm gonna put An Ember in the Ashes and honorable mentions. I really loved the first one, and it was my favorite of the series. A Torch Against the Night, I'm gonna put in You Are Almost There. Then Reaper of the Gates, I'm putting in Good. And then Sky Beyond the Storm, I'm putting maybe also in Good. Because I feel like my enjoyment generally decreased as I got kind of through the series. It was, you know, just the last 2 were not my favorites, but I really loved the first one and the second one. City of Brass, I'm gonna put in meh. It's a fine book, but it's not a book for me personally. Witch Hat Atelier, I'm gonna put in fine. Obviously I stopped the series. I probably won't continue on with the series. I feel like I do that with a lot of manga. Like I'll read the first 2, I'll be like, oh, they were fun, and then I like won't read any more of them. Even though I did enjoy them, I just like, I don't really feel like prioritizing them right now, you know? Then I have Big Panda and a Tiny Dragon, which I'm gonna put in good. This was not even like a proper book. It's kind of like a coffee table book of just like cute things to you know, like philosophical things, I suppose you would say, to like remember. It also had really cute illustrations in it. I loved the illustrations. They were adorable. Then we have one of the, it was like, it's the first Moomin book. I don't remember what it's called, but I'm gonna put it in fine. It was really cute, but like it is meant for children, so I'm not the target audience, so like don't take my word for it. Don't take my review of it. Shadows of Self, which is the second Mistborn Era 2 book, I'm gonna put in good, but like, you know, kind of like high good. I feel like maybe I needed another category, but alas. Inkblood Sister Scribe by Emma Turs, I'm gonna put in fine. This is my April Patreon buddy read, and I didn't love it. It just wasn't for me. It felt a little too lit ficky for my personal reading taste. The Bands of Mourning, which is the third Mistborn Era 2 book, I'm gonna put in honorable mentions. I really like this one. It's my favorite. It also has Indiana Jones vibes. Yeah, you know, I think I want to put In the Labyrinth of Drakes in honorable mentions. I don't know why that's so low. I'm gonna change that. Then we have A Fate Inked in Blood by Danielle L. Jensen. I'm gonna put this one in meh, because this one started, no, I'm gonna put it in fine, actually. Because the first half of this book was actually so good, and I was hooked. I was like, wait, this is actually like so fun. Love the fantasy romance. And then like it got a little bit too fantasy romance towards the end, and it did the thing that like every fantasy romance book does, and it irritated me. I think I'll wait to hear some reviews of the second book to see if I want to pick it up. If I do, I'll pick it up from the library. It's not like a hard DNF for the series, but the way this one ended, I was just like, I'm over it. It's overdone. I was sad about it. Then I have The Last Tale of the Flower Bride by Rashani Chakshi. I'm gonna put this one in good. I liked this one. I liked the twist, even though I did kind of predict that it was gonna happen, but It's good. I liked the writing a lot. We have Elantris by Brandon Sanderson. I'm gonna put this one in You Were Almost There because I think on a reread I would really enjoy this book, but on my first read the setup portion was so long. It's like 350 pages and the setup does end up being worth it, but like getting through it was a little bit of a slog at first, but like once you get to the second half it is really good. But then, you know, I also had some issues with the last part of the book with a lot of like plot conveniences and such. So it was up and down, but I loved the second part of it so much that it's gonna be pretty high on this list. Then I have the reappearance of Rachel Price. I'm gonna put this one in meh. I, you know, didn't love this one. It was just kind of, I don't really have anything to say about it, honestly. Garlic and the Vampire, I will put in new favorite, even though again it's a reread, but I love it. The Magician's Daughter, I'm gonna put in good. I enjoyed this one, but I don't really remember a whole lot about it. Equal Rights by Terry Pratchett, I'll put in honorable mentions. This is my first Discworld book that I read, and I really love it, even though I haven't read a single other Discworld book, but I will. One of these days I will. Circe by Madeline Miller, I'm also gonna put in honorable mentions. I loved this book so much. I'm so glad that I finally got around to reading it. Shout out to my patrons for making it the August buddy read. Because I probably, like, if not for that, I would probably still be sitting here saying, I really need to read that book soon. A Guest in the House by Emily Carroll, I'm gonna put in fine. I don't really remember a whole lot about this, but it's a graphic novel that I read during Summerween. Feybound by Sarah Ella Reefy, I'm gonna put in fine because the world is interesting. I like the world building of this book a lot, but this is like a romantic fantasy kind of thing, and neither of the romances really did anything for me. And again, some of them felt very insta love, which, as you guys know, irritates me. Then we have Shady Hollow by Juno Black, which I'm gonna put in fine. I feel like I don't have anything else to say about it. What Lies in the Woods, I'm also gonna put in fine, which I also don't have a lot to say about. A Tempest of Tea by House of Faisal, I'm going to put in good. This is really fun. It's like a Six of Crows-esque heist stories with vampires, which obviously sounds very fun. It wasn't a favorite, but I had a good time reading it, and I will probably continue the series by borrowing the second book from the library. Then I have The Darkest Part of the Forest, which I'm gonna put in You Were Almost There. I loved this one a lot. I picked it up on a whim and I read it in like a span of, I don't know, a day. And I've been meaning to read Holly Black's like other fairy books that aren't in the Folk of the Air series, but they take place in like the same fairy world, so I like this one a lot. And some of the characters in this one show up in the Folk of the Air series, which is very fun. I don't like remember those parts, but I know what happens. Kiki's Delivery Service, I'm gonna put in good. It was fun, I liked it. 10,000 Doors of January, I'm also gonna put in maybe fine. You know, it ended up not being my favorite, but I liked the writing. Free Rin, I'm gonna put in, for Cass, I'm gonna put it in You Are Almost There, because I think she might kill me if I put it any lower. But I liked it. I also read volume 2, which I'll also put in You Were Almost There. Ugh, another book. Another book that I want to unread so bad is The Final Girl Support Group. This might be my least favorite book of the year. I hated this book. I hated it so much. And I don't love like coming on and being like super negative and being like, this book was bad, but like I genuinely really hated this book. I've liked other books by Grady Hendrix, like the one about vampires, damn, what's that one called? My Best Friend's Exorcism. I liked both of those, but like this one, not good. Then I have The Invocations by Crystal Sutherland, so we're getting somewhere good here. I'm gonna put it in a new favorite. I loved it, very witchy, very fun. The Whispering Dead, I'm gonna put in You Are Almost There, and I have, I'm missing the other one in the series. The second book in the series would go in the same spot, but it's like it's not even like horror really, it's kind of just like a spooky story about this girl who doesn't remember who she is, where she came from, and she ends up living in a little caretaker's shack on a graveyard. It's spooky, it's fun. In the Company of Witches, I'm gonna put in honorable mentions. I love this one, and I will be reading the second one hopefully soon. The Dead Romantics, I'm gonna put in You Are Almost There. Insta Love got me with this one again, but I liked the rest of the story so much, so it's okay. Ooh, what is this one? I think this one's The Alloy of Law. This is the first Mistborn Era 2 book, which I'm gonna put in fine. I didn't love this one, but I feel like maybe I should reread it and go into it with like different expectations and probably like it more. Oh, my camera's on 1%. Hold on. Pause, please. We're back. Sorry if the camera is slightly shifted. Next up we have The Prisoner's Throne by Holly Black. I'm gonna put this one in fine. I don't love this one. I don't have anything else to say about it aside from the fact that I didn't love it. Oh look, I did have Emily Wilde on there. Well, it was so good. I'm gonna put it in my new favorites twice. I also did read this book twice this year, so There you go. A Grave Robbery by Deanna Raybourn is another book that needs to go in my new favorites. Right on up there, right between the Emily Wilde books. Big fan. We all know how I feel about the Veronica Speedwell series. Bride, I'm gonna put in fine. It was fun at first until it wasn't, but like it's not bad. The 7 Year Slip, I'm also gonna put in fine because I think this book honestly suffers the most from the insta-love nonsense that I've seen going on. Because, you know, the rest of the book, it's such a strong concept. Our character is like also dealing with grief in a really like realistic way that's very impactful. But our characters had realistically only known each other for like a week. But the way they were talking to each other at the end of this book, it's like they'd been married for years. They were like, I know you weren't like this. This isn't you. But I'm like, how do you know? Lore Olympus, I'm gonna put in good. Although, do you guys want to hear something funny? I think this is volume 5. I completely skipped volume 4. I never read it. I don't know why I just assumed I was on volume 5, but I read this and it made sense. Even though I accidentally skipped a volume. So maybe one of these days I'll go back and read volume 4. Or maybe I won't. Who knows? Then I have Check and Mate by Allie Hazelwood, which I'm gonna put in fine. I don't have anything else to say about it aside from I didn't like it. Starside by Brandon Sanderson, I'm gonna put in good. I really love this one. This is the second book in the Skyward series, and I'm very excited to continue it. The Raven Boys I'll also put in good. I started the second book in this series and I did soft DNF it. I could be convinced to restart it, but also I think when I was trying to read that, I was going through a weird like early spring depression, kind of like seasonal depression kind of thing. And now I just associate that time of last year with that book. So I don't know if I can go back to it. I think it might put me in that headspace and I don't need that. Trust the Emerald Sea, I'll put in the very low if you were almost there. I didn't love Tress as much as everybody else, but I think if I were to reread this, I would probably enjoy it a little bit more. Rhythm of War by Brandon Sanderson is going in my honorable mentions. I loved Rhythm of War. I loved a lot of the kind of scientific elements that were brought into it. I thought they were really cool. There were some great Cosmere connections as well. A Song for the Wild build, I'll put in good. I liked it. I liked the message. I thought it was a little bit, maybe heavy-handed in spots, but still very comforting, very nice to hear. We have The Voyage of the Basilisk by Marie Brennan, which I'm gonna put in like, you know, mid good. I know I said I wasn't ordering these, and like for the most part they're not ordered, but it's arbitrary. Everything is arbitrary. And then finally we have Dawnchard by Brandon Sanderson, which is the Stormlight novella that comes between Oathbringer and Rhythm of War. And this one I'm gonna put in good. Yeah, that feels right. So this is my tier ranking. Is there anything I want to move out? I feel like maybe I'll move The Legend of Sleepy Hollow down into my honorable mentions. I feel like it doesn't deserve to be with the rest of those books. Also, it's more satisfying that there's not just like an almost empty row on there. It looks like the majority of the books that I read last year are in this middle category, which is like not great, but it's not the worst thing ever. I definitely have a lot of books like the You Were Almost There and above. I really, really loved all of these books, so those are definitely a win. Overall, I think I had an okay reading year in 2024. I have faith that next year will be better. Well, this year. I don't know why I said next year. This year will be better. I've already done some great reading this year, so I'm hoping to do more. But with that, we have arrived at the end of my tier ranking. Those are, I think, all of the books that I read last year. There might be some missing. I tried to figure out which ones were missing. I couldn't pinpoint them to save my life, so if you see some, they're supposed to be in here, I'm sorry. But I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. I love doing a tier ranking. I just always think they are so fun and a really good kind of, you know, overview of a lot of books that I've read. A good way to give you guys like mini reviews of a bunch of books as well. So I hope you enjoyed. Obviously, I would want to know if you guys were to do this tier list, would you have any books that would either A, go in the new favorites category, or B, go in your I want to unread it category. I'd love to know if you had some really high highs or some really low lows. I think I had some high highs and some low lows, so it balances out. Before we go, I would also again like to thank Skillshare so much for sponsoring this video. I will leave a link to them down below, and the first 500 people that click that link will get their first month of Skillshare for free. I also would like to thank everybody over on my Patreon. A lot of these books were Patreon buddy reads that I don't read in my normal vlogs, so I hope you enjoyed being able to see those. But if you want to come and join the buddy reads, you totally could. It'll be linked down below. But with that, I'm going to let you guys go. I hope you're all having an amazing Friday, because I think I'm posting this video on Friday, a little extra Friday video that I wanted to do. And I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!